you actually, mentioned as far as, the acquisitions, right? Later on with Trulia. So could you maybe share more around that and just kind of like how that, I guess, kind of fit within the strategy of Zillow?
Buying Trulia was really instrumental because we were the number one site, they were the number two site, and we paid a couple billion. I think it was an all stock deal, 2/3, 1/3 all stock. So we gave them about $2 billion of stock in Zillow. But the reason that it was so important was it allowed us to shift the monetization model from a fixed price lead gen business to an auction lead gen business. So we always wanted to be like what Google was in search. And the genius of Google is, from a consumer standpoint, the genius of Google is that it's a really good search engine. From the advertising standpoint, the genius of Google is the auction. And, when the CPCs for Los Angeles real estate are $4 CPCs, Zillow doesn't get mad at Google. Zillow gets mad at the other competitors that bid the auction up to $4 CPCs. So nobody blames the auctioneer. And so we always wanted to switch our ad model from a fixed price where we were calling the real estate agent saying, sorry, there's a price increase. It's now $100 a month or $120 a month, or, we were CPC, CPL, CPA, which all sorts of different business models, but we were always increasing the price as our traffic grew. And that's a really hard conversation. It drives churn. So we wanted to shift to an auction. Buying Trulia allowed us to have enough scale and take out a main competitor that allowed us to create auction dynamics, which is why the Google auction works, because they have 90% market share in search. We spent 10 months arguing with the FTC, the Federal Trade Commission, that it wasn't going to create a monopoly. I believed it wasn't going to create. I still believe it didn't create a monopoly. I mean, there's plenty of real estate search engines and plenty of places for real estate agents to advertise. So it's not a monopoly. And that's why eventually the government agreed with us, but it took 10 months and I think 26 trips to Washington and hundreds and hundreds of hours under oath. And it was a complicated transaction to get approved, but when we did, it was instrumental in the company's growth. Actually, there's a good lesson here for you, which is, if any of you think that you will ever, almost no matter what you do, anything that you write in Slack, in text, in WhatsApp, in email, you should assume will eventually be discoverable in a lawsuit, in a antitrust hearing, in a whatever. And the lawyers call the things that you wish you hadn't written, they call them bad docs. Do you have any bad docs? And we had some bad docs. We had a binder. It's probably still here somewhere. Actually, it's right there, of thousands and thousands of papers, of email and Slack messages stuff. And under oath in front of the FTC, they'd be like, well, 3 years ago, there was some board meeting or something where you talked about how Trulia was a competitor and they had this percent market. Everything you write will eventually come out. There were a couple things that I wish it wasn't that bad, but I'd called some of my competitors internally some names and said, people were, said some bad things about some people, which then I had to apologize for. So that wasn't great. But mostly from a business standpoint, you just want to make sure that you never write anything like, oh gosh, if we could ever merge with company X, then we would finally have a monopoly and we could charge whatever we want. Don't write that. You'll regret that. I didn't actually. We didn't have anything that egregious, but that's the type of thing you want to be thoughtful about.